Julien, good afternoon.
Hello, Alon. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I know you have a crazy week. Monday, the LVMH Watch Week 2021 has started. We're running a bit late, so apologies to our live viewers that we're a bit late. But Julien has the time. We're going to kill him with questions. I want to thank you for being the first guest of season 2 and coming back on the show. I really enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure, Alon. You know, I'm honored to be here with you, and especially during this week because we have so much to share and to talk about, and I'm so excited about the reaction of our friends all over the world with this brand and what we launched this year, that I'm super happy to share this moment with you and our viewers.
Thank you. So you said you wanted to be back on the show. We were planning to do season 2 only in June of this year, but when you asked, can I say no? So we didn't prepare a format. We're not going to do the 7 standard ace list questions, but you guys last week killed us with the new Chronomaster Sport. Congratulations, Julien and all of the Zenith team, the Locle teams, the global teams. We have been overrun by phone calls, emails, chats, Instagram direct messages for people harassing us. Everybody's killing us. When do you get it, Alon? We got so many orders in, so congratulations. I want to know so much more about that watch later on. We already see it here. Dala is helping backstage. Thank you, Dala.
I'll answer to all your questions with great pleasure and give you a bit of an insight of also how we prepare this launch, because it's not only about this week. It's starting 3 years ago.
Amazing. So before we start, we did keep the wrist check in place. What are you wearing today? And I can guess already.
You can try to guess.
The white one.
Quite easy. Yes, the white one on bracelet. I've been wearing it now for a couple of weeks. I kind of tested it with a few of my friends before we launched it to get their opinion, their remarks and everything. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
It's stunning. It's stunning. So I'm so sad that I didn't see it in real life yet, but Rebecca did the pre-launch with us, did the pre-order. So we were in love. I'm more of the black dial guy, but the pre-orders have been 80% white.
Interesting. On strap or bracelet? Strap or bracelet so far?
Bracelet. All bracelet.
Okay,
all
interesting.
So it's a home run. And you guys took a American football player as your ambassador, so literally home run. So I'm wearing to bridge the legacy of the, I call it the tricolore, the old Chronomaster.
Beautiful.
And I want to talk about the 3 subdials, the tri-compacts tricolore dial, and what you guys did and why you used that dial in a new sports case, which is not that new. It's an evolution.
Correct.
So I want to talk about that. For the new watch collectors, it seems very innovative, but it's actually true Zenith pedigree and DNA.
Absolutely. And I brought, especially for you and our viewers, I brought a few of the vintage watches that were at the very beginning put on a tray when I worked with Romain Marietta, how we wanted to design this kind of more contemporary and sporty look Chronomaster. So I'm gonna, whenever you want, to tell me and I will show you those watches because they are incredible.
What I wanted to do, usually we spend a lot of time on the personal guests and questions.
Sure.
I changed the format for returning guests in season 2. I just want to touch upon briefly how was last year, what is planned for the coming year, and obviously that's what the LVMH Watch Week is about. And then the floor is yours and our guests. So that's what I was thinking. We didn't have time to catch up backstage, guys, so I'm just giving Julien the intro. He's such a laid-back guy. He says, I'm going live, and didn't even want to know what we're going to talk about. So just very briefly, how was 2020 for you? Although it was a crazy year, I think you guys pumped out creativity. I told you I loved the Dream Hearse project, the watches you guys launched, talking about the ultraviolet, the shadow. Do you want to share the Pantone project that was at the end of the year?
Yeah. No, we kept it very active. And, you know, to make a quick summary, we started 2020 in a great way when we had our show in Dubai, which was a fantastic success. And we knew that after 17, 18, 19, the 2020 year was supposed to be the year where Zenith really gets into a new league. And we had all elements finally getting ready, getting together for that. Of course, we started great. And then my last trip was in the US in March. I stopped by London actually on my way back, and then I went home, and 24 hours after, we had to shut down the company. So the year totally changed. And this has been a tough year, but it's been a great learning year, because we've been adapting with agility and flexibility in a way that I never expected to that extent. My team has been unbelievable. Overnight, we worked from home, and I told them, you know, we're going to talk every morning at 9 a.m., whatever we have a lot of subject or not, because we're going to keep our bond as a team, first of all, and then we will work on how we adapt to this new environment. And the second day, I asked them, how can you turn your job into a digital job? Because that's what we're going to face. Yeah. And I have to say, again, they did great. Not only we kicked off the e-commerce, which wasn't planned for, it was planned over 18 months, and I asked it to prepare it in 18 days. But after that, and you have mentioned that we've been very active from a marketing and communication point of view, going one live after the other, one presentation with retailers, with press, with end clients, and we kept the brand super active. Then I had to make a tough decision. I said, I'm going to keep quite a few nice launches, and you mentioned most of them: Ultraviolet, Shadow, Manufacturer Edition, plus a few great concepts like, of course, the launch of DeFi Midnight, the Dreamers that you referred to, and the Zenith Icons. Before Felipe Pantone, there was the Zenith Icons launch, which is amazing program, very important to me. But I had to decide to postpone the launch of the new Chronomaster that we are presenting today, as well as another evolution that will happen in a couple of months, and also an important launch in the DeFi line that you will see also in a couple of months. But you know, it wasn't the right environment. So we postponed it, but we kept the year very active, and we continued to grow and gain market share. And that's been really, really tough, but a learning experience. And now, of course, 2021, we couldn't expect a better start. I'm like you, I'm receiving messages every day. When we launched the Chronomaster Sport, it was Thursday at midnight Swiss time. And I woke up in the morning, I had tons of messages. I mentioned one a Singapore retailer. It was followed by a Mexican retailer that I'm very close with, plus American ones, European ones. And they all basically gave me such good news about how much buzz and how many orders they got. So, you know, it's just a great start of a year after a very difficult period for all of us.
Yeah, amazing. And it's well deserved. I mean, for all of you, you guys have been pushing hard, and it's a tough decision to postpone such a thing. And it shows that you guys have a long-term vision, always quality over quantity. So compliments on that. So going from last year, looking forward ahead, obviously you're going to mention product-wise. Before we dive into the products in front of you, is there something else you would like to share or can share? Or
yeah, of course. I mean, LVMH Watch Week is a good way to kick off the year very early, and I was very happy to have this initiatives with my colleagues from Bulgaria and Hublot to really start very early in the year. And of course, there will be more launches. I mean, we are in discussion to collaborate with our friends from the Watches and Wonders in April. Then we're going to go to the markets. Hopefully, we can go back to the markets, because all these initiatives that I mentioned last year, we couldn't really do 200% as I like to do, because of course the constraints were there. So we need to do much more about the Dreamers, much more about the Zenith Icons. We have a lot more initiatives to come, new ambassadors, a full digital program that we learned a lot from 2020. So the pipeline is more than full, but we just need one thing, and nobody of you can help me on that, but we just need the wind to blow in our back instead of in our face, because the last year has been so tough that we had to adapt. But now we just need the right environment.
Yeah, amazing. So something I wanted to ask you, why you guys moved to multiple occasions to do launches of novelties. Is that also a trend we're seeing in the industry, that you're shortening the time to go to market with physical products? So between launch, back in the day it was Basel, SIHH, and then it took forever to get to market. You guys try to deliver the new Chronomaster Sport quickly, right? I mean, Switzerland is in lockdown right now, and that's what the wind you're referring to.
Yeah.
That's out of your control. But let's say lockdowns are lifted. How quickly can you start supplying the new Chronomaster Sports? Because that's the major question we get.
Of course. Alon, I could tell you that at Zenith we are so good that we manage to be always on time when we launch a product. But that would be a big lie, because in Swiss watchmaking industry, we have very long cycles, and cycles of production are also taking time. You make prototype, you test the watches. I mean, you know the story as well as I do.
Yeah.
In this particular case, Chronomaster Sport was supposed to be launched in June. Then after the lockdown, we said, are we able to do it later? And I said, no, we won't do it in 2020, but we will produce the watches in the fall. We'll get ready for the first time to be able to say, this is the watch. And a few minutes after, the watches are in the shops. And that's what we did with great success last week, last Friday, where basically I had pictures of clients that I know who acquired the watch literally a few hours after the launch online. So it's more about the timing of production. But yes, you are right. It's a learning. If we can anticipate more and reduce this time between the announcement and the availability, I think it's a win-win for clients as well as for the brands.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And before I forget, would you mind taking the watch and giving us a physical 3D, and especially the clasp? I want to see how the clasp is done. So let's dive in, Julien. Show us what's new, what story. I want to talk about the caliber. There's a new amazing caliber.
Yeah.
The looks are so fun, people forget about the inside.
I'll give you a little tour about the watch. And please. You noticed I picked up the black dial on bracelet, which is your favorite. So first of all, and it is very important, how we got this inspiration. And here I will just use a little glove to help me to take this. It's very important because some of you might know, some of you might not know these watches. This is a very important watch of the Zenith collection. Next to it, some of you might know, it's called the De Luca. And here the bracelet is exactly similar, very inspired from the De Luca. The bezel, the black bezel, the new one is in ceramic. In those days it wasn't in ceramic, but it's the same spirit. How do you call that? The buckle is the same, also same system that we used those days, you know. So we basically took all the identity of this watch coming from the early 70s to basically turn it into a contemporary revolution of that particular watch. Inspiration came also from this one that you may not know. This is an incredible watch from 1965 called the A277 with the Gay Frères famous bracelet. And this watch was before the El Primero. So it didn't even have the El Primero. It had a Martel movement, but it was already part of this tradition of Zenith to come with a Chronomaster with a slightly more sporty look, casual look, more contemporary. And if I go back to the actual model, what are the specificities? Of course, I mentioned the bracelet that has been polished and worked in a way to make it beautiful, but also super comfortable. And for that, there is no other way for you than to wear it, but you will see it's quite amazing. The buckle is a simple buckle as we used to use with this clap of security. So very easy, very functional. Again, you know this one. Sorry?
Not too thick.
No. It's really in the continuity of the bracelet. Then of course it's a very elegant and good proportion watch. It's 41 millimeters and it's 13.6 millimeters thick. So it's not too bulky, not too thick. It keeps very elegant when you wear it with a suit, as I'm doing now. And of course, from a technical point of view, as you know, end of 2019, we launched the new the 100, and this new movement 3600 is a great movement because it's measuring the 1/10 of a second. Why we went for 1/10 of a second, and that's important.
Yeah.
We talked about chronographs. A real chronograph for us, if you want to be very pure in terms of chronometry, it has to measure the 1/10 of a second, because we are, of course, known for high frequency, 36,000 VPH, 5 hertz. And this is giving you the 1/10 of a second. If you use a 28,800, 4 hertz, it's going to give you 1/8 of a second. If you use a 21,600, which is basically 3 hertz, it's going to be 1/6 of a second. If we want to cut the time in a logical way, I mean, nobody has ever measured anything in 1/6 or 1/8 of a second, right? It's about 1/10. So we said we have to continue to provide this chronometry expertise that is so much a Zenith one. And to do that, we also wanted, and this is something I asked Romain, to make it easy to read the time, because in some of those watches, some of these tachymeters, it gets so complicated that people really often don't even know how to use it. Here you have 3 sub-counters. The light gray that you can see at 9 is basically the small second, the turning second, okay? The anthracite gray that you have at 6 is going to give you the minutes, and the blue is going to give you the seconds. And of course, the central hand turning around will show you, will show you the 1/10 of a second. So it's very intuitive and very easy to use.
Amazing. So basically, you took the striking 10th
correct
caliber, I think was launched exactly a decade ago.
Yes, right.
So you took that caliber, and maybe just a intermezzo for those that are not that familiar with Zenith. Zenith has been making since 1969 the first integrated chronograph.
Yep.
And as Julien just said, the calibers usually would run at a heartbeat of 28,800 per hour, which is 4 beats per second.
Correct.
Which boils down to 1/5 of a second. Zenith went immediately to 36,000 beats per hour, which equals 1/10 of a second.
Correct.
You guys used to supply many other brands, including infamous and famous ones. They would screw down the speed of the caliber. So there were other manufacturers that did 36,000 back in the past. But today, correct me if I'm wrong, Julien, there's nobody else who does it, correct?
No, nobody else. And I mean, for me, again, it's a question of what's the meaning behind being a chronograph. And clearly the 1/10 of a second was a no-brainer for us. We decided from the beginning to have this frequency with this movement.
Exactly. Sure. So I'm wearing caliber 400, which is the original one. You guys created the striking 10th, and today the caliber is the 3600 caliber, correct?
Yes, correct. And it's actually, it's of course, column wheel that we worked on. We worked on basically making it much more visible. Difficult to show you here, but you can see it in blue. I'm trying to make it visible. We basically, it's very similar, very similar to the one you have in your watch. We improved a few things. We improved the power reserve, going from 50 hours to 60 hours. We improved the column wheel, and we put it much more on stage, basically much more visible. And of course, striking 10th of a second. I mean, we had to go for that. It was an objective. So that's how we worked to work on this, to develop this movement. So we keep the 400 for sure in our collection, but we bring this 3600, which makes so much sense, in a Chronomaster Sport contemporary collection like this one.
Amazing. I love it.
So what else can I tell you? I mean, it's been a great buzz, and it's totally in line again with our past, with our history. I'm so happy that we finished with this launch last week. We finished the week with such a great launch, and we're starting this one here with a lot of positive comments on that.
Amazing. So my favorite sports Zenith watch in your back catalog, with a lunette, is the rainbow. I used to own that watch, and it's so retro today. What I want to talk about also is the tricolore dial. Could you tell a bit about the history?
Yeah, sure.
Why it's so important, and why you launched the first Chronomaster Sport, the new iteration, in those dials?
Alors, better than talks, I can show you the original 3-color dial, which is here on a beautiful watch A386 on a Gay Frère bracelet. This one is exactly from the end of 1969, and this is the original 3 colors. That was made at the time to basically bring something more attractive, eye-catching on the dial, and new, because it had never been done. And it became kind of a signature. But you're right, it's always been in this classic side of these watches. And we decided for the first time to bring it to the Chronomaster Sport type of watch. As you could see, the other ones that I could show you before, they don't have it. And it's been a great mix, because next to all the elements that are coming from the past, we bring this signature, which became so Zenith over the years. So you will see maybe here, when I put these two together, we have work on the Pantone and the color that is slightly different, of course. The graduation also on the subdials as well, to make it warmer, to make it more technical, and of course to indicate the indication we need to show. But I mean, it's I wouldn't imagine that watch without. Sorry, I cannot move my hands. I cannot imagine this Chronomaster Sport without the 3 colors. I think it's really the final touch that we had to put on it.
I agree. It gives a fun face to it. It makes it so Zenith.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
I saw it's 10 bars.
And you know something we don't always value enough, but to have 3 sub dial like this in such colors implies 10 different application on each of these sub dials. So it's actually a nightmare, and it's only when I visited the dial making facility close by to La Chaux-de-Fonds that I realized that when you have such a dial, you basically have 30 more operation on the dial to get these 3 colors the way we have. So it seems simple to just paint them, but it doesn't work this way.
No, it's amazing. Dala, I'm looking at you. If you can pull up the picture I posted on my Instagram today, I took the picture you guys launched this week of just the dial for this model.
Yes.
3 sub counters lifted a bit, and I'm just in love with that picture. Dala is pulling it up now, and that shows how much work goes into the dial.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. This one, I'm just in love with this picture.
Yeah, I love it as well. Because you really realize that it's basically dials in the dial, and it's not just an easy way of painting it as people might think. And this is something we haven't put enough emphasis on this particular work. I'm just showing you this one because it goes on bracelet, as we discussed, as well as on straps.
Yeah. One question we get a lot, Julien, is
tell me.
The majority is ordering them on steel bracelet with us, but they want the additional leather or textile strap. Yeah. How quickly will those be available?
Alors, this I need to check. I cannot tell you like that. I mean, we'll make sure we have straps, because straps are basic and we should have them available for sure. But right now, the demand has been so important. And on the straps as well, it's interesting. You got most orders on bracelet, because we got a lot of requests.
It's very typical for the Nordics. If you go Northern Europe, it's very much sport and very much steel bracelet.
Okay, so that's a good explanation. And no, we'll have straps, of course. Give us a bit of time, but it's very nice to have both. It's not interchangeable, but it's the easy, usual way to change a strap.
Yeah, amazing. So could I ask you why you chose for a quarterback ambassador? We'll see his hand now on the background. What was the philosophy behind that?
Alors, it's very simple. You know, we've been thinking a lot about why we take celebrities or famous people to help us in terms of brand awareness. That's the main objective. And from the very beginning, I believe that in the 90s and the 2000, there have been so many brands using. I mean, and Jean-Claude Biver was one of the first one to do it with Omega in a very, very successful way. I strongly believe that the more the time goes, the more people are looking for authenticity. And I always told my team, I'm not looking for a big celebrity just to come and show the watch at an event in a red carpet and this kind of stuff. I need people from different fields, because the time to reach your star, brand philosophy, which has nourished our brand since the founder until now, is really this philosophy of life that I believe is so important. And I want the people we work with that are totally in line with this. And I'm not a big fan of American football, so nobody can accuse me of having hired my idol. But I love the guy because he was sharing with me where he came from and how he built his career, and with the difficulties he had, also the tough time he went through. And when I talked to him, I realized that he was such a great fit. So we have him here. In other countries, we have singers. In other countries, we have movie stars. We have also a chef. We have different people, but what they have in common is that you can put them on stage and they're not going to just show up with the watch. They're going to tell about their own experience, and they're going to make the link. And that's important.
I recorded a podcast.
Yes.
With my friend and a big watch collector. He's American who lives in Amsterdam.
Yes.
That podcast is going live tomorrow, so you can listen to it. And he said spot on. He matches Zenith, and Zenith chose well. So I'm not into American football either, but compliments on that. So, Julien, the questions are pouring in.
Please.
Do you want to give a little sneak peek about what is to come more? Or should we leave it?
No, it's okay. You know me. I'm very open. I'm ready for all kind of questions, and it's a pleasure for me to answer to those questions.
So you guys launched the amazing Chronomaster Sport, another revival with a beautiful tobacco fumé dial, and you're saying stay tuned, more to follow, right?
Exactly.
We leave it at that?
Yes, please.
Okay, Dala, questions, please. All right, first one on YouTube. Somebody sent in his question. Your 37mm sizing is on point for your vintage releases. What was the reason for this size?
So I guess we talk about this this shape of the A384, A385 generation, because this watch originally was 37 millimeters. It was relaunched. It was never relaunched in its original size and proportion. It was launched once. It was 8-9 years ago, I guess, 10 years ago, in a 42 millimeters. And we sold it well. It was a pretty good seller. But in my opinion, we got to lose a bit the proportions. And when we discussed with Romain and we redesigned this a watch, we realized that 37 was actually the right size. And that's why I decided to relaunch it, respecting 100% of the original proportion. And honestly, the success has been behind the 384 and 385. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. And the 400 caliber is a nice small diameter, so you can get away with it. So that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. Easily. Yeah. So that's the reason why we stuck to the original one.
Thank you. Let's see what's more. Abdul writes, the tent is such a cool way to be more accurate when clocking duration, but I wonder what is the effect on the movement service-wise? Good question, Abdul.
It's a very good question, because you're right. And the more you have a high frequency, the more you are basically testing the movement, the more you're asking to the engine. And it's always difficult. So you need, first of all, to have an expertise, and you need to master high frequency, which is the essence of Zenith for a long time. And of course, we need to test the watch a lot, because you're going to use more energy faster. So you need to make sure that, first of all, you can master the power reserve, and you're not going to run out of gas too quickly. And also, of course, that the way you use the watch and the engine is going to last long. So we've been testing this, I would say, for a long time, as we discussed earlier. And in this particular case, with this particular watch, we got the very first prototype in 2018 already. So we had quite a bit of time, plus the postponing due to COVID-19, to test and over-test these movements, and they are super, super, super quality and reliable. So I think you won't feel anything different from any other watch. And in terms of service, it's the same. We recommend to have a service every 3-4 years, just to check. The movement should last very long, and the vintage I showed you have been found in great condition, so it's lasting long. But the mechanical watch should be, maybe put a bit of oil on a regular basis. That's my personal advice.
Amazing. Thank you. Dala?
Thank you.
Ernie, our friend, a founder of whatyouseek.com, asks on YouTube, just curious to find out if an ambassador really has an effect on sales.
That's a great question that I challenge my team all the time with. And it's always obvious that it's difficult to measure. You have a few ways to measure. Sometimes you have clients showing up in a shop, in your boutiques, online, saying, I want the watch worn by XYZ people we are working with. Or sometimes you hear a lot of great comments on social media, which makes you feel confident that this person is a good image and a good help for the awareness. But otherwise, you have to count more on the level of participation. And next to the fit that I referred to before, I always work with someone on a short term first to make sure that the person, as you sign the contract, is going to give a lot of himself or herself. And when I say a lot, is participate beyond the agreement. I'll give you an example. When we launched last year the Carl Cox edition, which has been a tremendous success, limited edition, 200 pieces, quite expensive, 20,000 Swiss francs with the carbon DeFi 21. Carl has been incredible. Not only he shared his experience, also starting playing music in a garage and becoming a legend over decades, but also he agreed to do amazing things. In Mexico, during the CR, we organized a private live performance concert when he was based in Australia. I was in Switzerland, it was the middle of the night for me, and he and our distributor, Rick, was in Mexico, the end clients, and he exchanged individually with every single client who had bought the watch during this time. He played music exclusively for them, and he sent them a record signed. So it was, we never asked him to do that, So he involved a lot. And this is, you don't measure, but you feel that he's bringing something extraordinary into the brand.
Yeah, it's authentic and it's a real ambassador.
Fantastic.
Amazing. I hope that answers your questions, Ernie. And I, as a retailer, can concur that although you and I and Julien and Dala and etc. are not really impressed by that, but it does work. And it also gives watches nicknames. Just think about the Bond watch, the Steve McQueen Monaco, and that's how it works. It's for those that are not that technical oriented, it gives them an umbrella to remember even watches. They need those nicknames. So only for that.
Totally right.
But totally it's a multi-pronged marketing strategy. Okay, thank you for that, Julien, for this honest answer. I'm curious to see, because I see a lot of questions pouring in, but I'm letting Dala direct them. Joe Makuza writes on YouTube, Julien, with the advent of e-commerce and everything being online, what effect do you see it having on the watch industry as a whole and ZENITH as a brand? Great questions, Joe.
Fantastic, because it's a question of today, with the period we just went through and the lockdown and everything. Most of the brands, I would say, reacted to that, and we were one of them. I had a plan again to do e-commerce over 18 months, and we did it in a very short period of time. Our retailers have often been proactive on that and running e-commerce businesses as well. So I think today, if you want to live in the 21st century, you have to do e-commerce. And I've been discussing this with my peers a lot, and the Swiss watch industry, I can say that I'm Swiss myself, often believe that we would never sell watches online because it's expensive, you need to touch them. Of course, it's better in a shop, but in today's world, e-commerce is part of their channels, whatever you like it or not. This is the reality. What I believe on top of that is that the role of retailers, and I'm not saying because we are talking together, Alon, but is key to our industry. Having boutiques is nice because you create embassies, you build up the brand image, you create a place where we only going to talk about your own brand. Fine. E-commerce is about being contemporary. You have to go for it. But retailers are still the key channel, because we don't sell shirts, we don't sell shoes, we sell highly technical objects. And as Alon reminded us a couple of minutes ago, not all people know about the technicity and everything. They need advice. They need a neutral advice. And when you go to a retailer and you say, I want to buy an ass chronograph, of course, I really hope that if you carry Zenith, you're going to put Zenith on the tray. But I'm totally fine with putting different brands that are making also beautiful chronographs, because that's why the client is coming for. That's why the client is going to a retailer. So I think it's complementary. And yes, e-commerce is key. We have started with great results for the last 6 months of 2020. It will continue. But in a business model, I really put first our friends, retailers that have been supporting the brand for a long time.
And to add to that, Joe, I can concur. We were one of the first to do e-com back in 2007, first in the world. And Julien is not BSing us here. He really, really believes in retailers. They support us. We have tremendous support from them. And it's often marketing as well, right? So people want instant satisfaction. They want to know pricing, availability, info. So it's coexistence. And for us, it's not, it doesn't have a negative effect, even a positive one, because we coexist. And I believe in our business because there will always be need for independent advice, as Julien said, and multi-brand environments where people can compare. Because if Zenith says they make the best chronographs, you won't believe them. But if a multi-brand retailer says it, you might believe them even more. So thanks for asking that. Thank you, Dala. I'm curious to see what other amazing questions you have. It's amazing the responses we're having here. Melvin, part of the Watch 4 crew, writes on YouTube, is a high frequency movement more or less prone to damage caused by shocks, etc.? Or is it similar as low frequency movements? Good question, Melvin.
It's a great question. And to be honest, I mean, we launched, for example, the DeFi 21 now almost 3.5 years ago. And we have very, very low return rate on that one, very low technical problems. So I would say if you capitalize on your experience and if you've been mastering these high frequency movements for a long time, we don't have more issue with those ones than low frequency. You know, we might have more issue on a very simple movement to some extent than on these ones. So I think it's about the experience. Probably a brand going new into that, by the time they master it, it will take time and you might experience issues. But we haven't realized, we haven't seen any particular issue with those ones. So the 10th of a second, you could imagine that 10th of a second is an easy one because we just had the 100th of a second. But we took even more time to prepare the launch of the Chronomaster Sport and to make sure that we had no similar issue. So no, we should not have any difference.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Dal is looking for another question. So interesting for those that don't know the difference between the 400 El Primero, the new 3600, the El Primero 21 is a 100th of a second. And that's used in the contemporary cases of the DeFi, which I rave about the fact that there are not many manufacturers today that really make design forward watches anymore. It's all retro vintage, which you guys do as well next to your evolutions, but you redesign the whole watch, and DeFi is one of my favorites. So I'm very curious to see what you're going to launch further on in the year, because I have a feeling there'll be some cool DeFis as well.
Alon, if I may interrupt you a second,
please.
I'm going to show you something which is quite nice here. 3 of our watches, and you can see measuring 1 second, 10th of a second, and 100th of a second.
Amazing. Let's blow this up.
There is no better way to visualize high frequency and how we can really master all 3.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's quite nice to see all 3 running at the same time.
Yeah, amazing. So the DeFi is 100th of a second on the right, and that is mesmerizing. So Julien, now that you still have it in your hands,
yes, which one?
Do you want to have the camera zoom in on that?
On this one?
Yeah.
Sure.
We didn't talk about it. You remember that last year we spoke about the color of 2021?
Yeah, exactly. And here we go with green. You remember the ultraviolet was quite a surprise, because I think we have been the first one to bring violet in a watch like that, very contemporary looking. And we looked for something different. We made a few attempts, and we love that khaki green ceramic rendering, as well as the work that we've done inside the movement to get the right number of components in green to match this. Linked, of course, to, and you can see here, I'll go slowly so you can see the back of the movement with the rotor and the star in green as well.
So this is the Defy Jungle Green.
Correct. It's an urban jungle, you know, because if you want to buy it, you cannot go to Alon. You have to come to the jungle. That's the only place we're going to deliver it.
Listen, Julien, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but in Amsterdam, we're currently in a urban jungle.
I know.
We have riots going on, lockdowns, our cabinet, they stepped down. So it's one big mess. But I'm happy in my little bubble, sitting with you and talking watches.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I hope it will cool down very soon, because
it will. It's just a bit of nutters, a bit of crazy people. So no problem. All right. Do we have more questions, Dala? Abdul is back. He's on fire, and he writes, do you think technologies like augmented and virtual reality will have a positive effect on watch sales? I think with VR and AR, the buying experience will be much richer.
Abdul, you are 100% right. And as much as our industry sometimes is highly traditional, and we want to keep tradition, but of course we need to move on and be more and more innovative and dynamic. And it's not only about the technicity of our movement, it's about the way we sell and the way we present watches. And for those of you who've seen our website's evolution, the different experiences we're offering on the website, like our manufacturer visit and different things, you will see that we are trying more and more to get people to be able to dive into our manufacturer, our movements, our watches. And I think the more VR or AR, both, we need to be better and better to give a better experience. Not only we've been confined, so it's a better way to feel a watch, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's such a better presentation. And I'm impressed by some of the technologies. I'm meeting right now with some of the very high-tech companies, startups in Switzerland that are providing great things. So yes, it will be a competitive advantage, and we have to invest in that. I fully agree with you.
Amazing. So I still see a lot of questions coming. I know you're very busy, Julien. I want to keep this session at 45 minutes. So,
it's okay. I'm so happy to be with you. I take the time. Pleasure for me.
Dala, one last one. He's looking at the long list of feedback we got. Or maybe his screen is frozen. I don't know. Let me see if I can help out here.
Don't ask me how many Chronomaster Sport you're going to receive next month.
Don't worry, I'm asking Rebecca and Flora every day. It's teamwork, right? Let me see. So Joe just sent in a question because I think the systems are freezing a little bit. Let's give Joe the chance to ask the last question. He asks, what has been your approach to marketing the Zenith brand to the younger generation? He's talking about millennials and Gen Z. Sure. Another good question, Joe.
Excellent question. And that has been my objective since day one. So we started, I would say the first thing we did was to introduce the Defy collection, which is definitely bringing a very contemporary, young, cool factor to the brand that was a bit perceived in the past having been a bit dusty. Wrongly, actually, because the brand has always been dynamic and creative, innovative, but it was a bit dusty. So I worked a lot with the products first, for sure. And then we changed so many things. If I start from the website, the social media, we had zero social media presence 3.5 years ago, believe it or not. We have organized also new events. The format of events have been very different. And I can tell you that over the last 3 years, we rejuvenated our average client from 39 to 33 years old. So it means it's working to some extent. And you know, we also try new angles to communicate. Of course, ambassadors is one way. Of course, the communication campaign, the time to reach your star is another very important way. But Dream Hers is a great concept because it's right in today's world. I mean, how we give tributes to women who achieved amazing things in their life, which sometimes is tougher than for men, and we have to admit that. Another good thing is the Zenith Icons program that we launched. And you could imagine, oh, it's about vintage and restoring pieces. It's about the old age. But no, we took the exact angle of a society discussion now. Because for me, Zenith Icons is about acquiring watches that already had 3, 4, 5 different lives. And they're still going to have future lives. Because when we produce a Zenith watch, it's a product that will last forever. And today, in a concept of sustainability, of circular economy, telling someone that when you make a Zenith watch, quality watch, reliable, it's going to last forever, it's very much in today's thinking. So I believe we speak more and more, and we talk more and more to younger generation as well, for sure. And you know, the younger generation, we would be surprised. They don't all want, I'm not talking too loud because I don't want to offend other brands, but they don't all want to have a cell phone on their wrist, you know. A cell phone, the minute you buy it, or a connected watch, the minute you buy it, it's already obsolete. When you buy a Zenith watch, you know it's going to be there forever. And that's a very nice angle to share with millennials and Generation Z, or any letter you want to use.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for all our viewers.
Very nice question.
Importantly, thank you, Julien, for taking the time to sit again with me. It's a true honor that you took the time and that you were so passionate to sit with us again. We sell another brand from the LVMH Watch Week, which is Bulgari. So next week is Antoine Pen, and he's a record holder because that's going to be his 3rd appearance in 2 seasons. Yeah. So tune in for that next Wednesday, 3rd of February at 3 o'clock. Thank you so much, Julien, and hope to see you in this wonderful year in person, either in the Locle or
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alon, because it's always super interesting, interactive, and I love this kind of format. So I was very happy and honored to be invited for the 2nd time. And let me in for Antoine. Like this, I can prepare some very tough questions for him.
And it's beautiful because he's an ex-Zenith guy. So
exactly.
All
Right.
All the best with the rest of the week.
For sure. And take care of you in the Netherlands. All the best. And hopefully we can meet physically sooner than later. Bye-bye.
I hope so. Au revoir, ami.
Au revoir. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.